Hello, friends. I am so happy that you are joining me here. This has been a journey. It has taken me basically half a year to get settled into the space that I am currently in. And honestly, I almost forgot what it felt like to just be present and show up, create, and not have to stress about how I'm going to get things done, how I'm going to get organized, and really get back to a space where I feel comfortable with sharing across all of my platforms. I think this journey and this path that I've been on has really helped me come to terms with the fact that I am just not one of those people who believes in one size fits all. I am passionate about many, many things, and I am going to exercise all of my God given talents. I'm going to try a little bit of everything and then try my luck at blending it all together to make it my own. And I think that's essentially what I've done here, more than just talking about ways that we can become better versions of ourselves by living more intentionally. I really wanted to explore what this space could look like if I started to focus on intentional living and branding. So here we are. If you are new to me, I'm Amber Janae. And this is going to be where we explore the intricacies of identity, creativity, and intentionality, whether in life or in business, through deep reflection and thoughtful conversations. We are really going to uncover and unpack what it means to move with clarity, purpose, and authenticity. I guess you can consider this to be your personal editorial on crafting a life and a brand that feels like home. So let's have a little story time. Back in 2019 is when I founded my company, Divine Oasis. And for it, I had really big plans. But a lot of those plans initially went on the back burner because in my mind, I had this textile company that was going to be my next big thing. And that textile company didn't really hit like I planned for it to hit because COVID happened. So in 2020, I put the textile company on hold because obviously there were so many strict restrictions to where I couldn't fully get it off the ground and where I wanted it to be. The inability to travel, the inability to meet with partners and source everything that I needed for the business. It just kind of fell flat. It was in a lot of ways a blessing in disguise because it forced me into a space where I had to put all of my time and attention into Divine Oasis. And I had this big dream of creating a space where people could design their lives and their brands and do so with a sense of purpose, urgency, and authenticity. It was literally my vision to build and curate an online community that blended intentionality and strategy. So as the years had passed and I continued to pour more and more into this vision for Divine Oasis, something happened and it shifted and I didn't even realize the shift. But I had spent so much time pouring energy into Divine Oasis as its own entity that I slowly started to detach from the personal brand that I had built. I felt like I didn't invite my audience along on that journey. And I was building, creating, and expanding, but was doing so from behind the scenes so much that there was almost this distance that was created. And a distance with my audience was created, but it wasn't something that was intentional. But later on, I saw that it was necessary and it was very important for me to go through because sometimes when we're so focused on growth, we don't realize the parts of ourselves that we're leaving behind. And I felt like that's what happened for me. I had reached a point where I had felt somewhat disconnected from my audience, the very people who had been there with me from the very beginning and supporting me and carrying me through all of these shifts and changes. My brand wasn't just about services, selling my audience, my community something, or a strategy. It had always been rooted in community, personal wellness, taking care of ourselves, having meaningful conversations, and building connections. That is why, till this day, I have so many women who follow me and, like, in my mind, you're my big sister. In my mind, we're best friends. And that is a testament to what I have built over the years. I think back then, prioritizing one aspect of my work, I had inadvertently let go of the other. So I did what felt right and felt natural at the time, which was I paused, like I recalibrated, I took a step back. A lot of you have been on this journey with me as I've been going through this and exploring this, but I looked at Divine Oasis not as something that was separate from me, but as an extension of who I am and already was at that time. As I step forward and continue to navigate through this journey, I'm realizing that Divine Oasis will always be my brainchild. It will always be my baby. It's a creative consultancy, soon to be a creative studio, from my lips to God's ears. It is a space for brand consulting and intentional lifestyle design. But more than that, and most importantly, it is a reflection of me. It is a reflection of my core values, everything that I stand for, everything that I believe in, my creativity, my personal vision. And that's what today's conversation is going to be about. It is going to be about how to create a personal brand that feels authentic, that feels true to you. This work isn't just about strategy, it is about alignment. It's about creating something that is an extension of who you are rather than something that forces you to become something or someone that you are not. It's about knowing that your brand and your essence are not two separate things. They are intertwined, they are interconnected. So today, my only hope is that the insight that I share guides you on a path to creating a personal brand that feels deeply authentic and aligned with who you are. A brand that isn't just about chasing trends, but about embodying all of your essence and all of who you are at your core. So let's start with talking about the principles of an authentic personal brand. First things first, you have to know yourself before you brand yourself. A strong personal brand is something that starts with a deep-rooted sense of self-awareness. Before you think about a logo, before you think about a color palette, before you think about the type of content that you're going to create, you have to ask yourself, who am I outside of the internet? What do I value? What stories have shaped me? Your brand isn't just about what you do. It is about who you are and how you make people feel. I try my best to always encourage my clients to think about their defining moments, those pivotal experiences that have shaped how they see the world and ultimately how they see themselves. Maybe it was going through a career change, becoming a parent, a personal breakthrough, or even a quiet realization that completely shifted the entire trajectory of their lives. These moments are the blueprint to your brand's essence. For me, my journey of stepping into authenticity as it relates to my personal brand really came from just years of self-repression, feeling like I had been spending years repressing parts of myself to fit into a version of success that ultimately wasn't even mine. I started on the journey of connecting with my most authentic self in my mid to late 20s. And I think by my early 30s, I was knee deep in this journey and feeling like, what is next? Because I was also embarking on a new journey of not just getting to know me and stepping into this new version of myself, but I was becoming a mother for the first time. Motherhood, I felt like, catapulted me into a different era of being more in tune with myself, the things that I love, the things that I stand for. It's almost as if motherhood radicalized me to care less and less about what people thought, and for me to focus more on how I felt. And as long as I felt good about whatever it is that I was doing, as long as I felt right about it, it was okay. I didn't care what other people thought. And I loved getting to that space because once I stopped caring about what people thought, it forced me into a space where I had to stop playing small. Because if I don't care what you think, I don't care how you see me. And if I don't care how you see me, I also don't care if my light and my aura makes you feel uncomfortable. I'm no longer playing small to make you feel comfortable with wherever you are. And it also helped me to get into this space where I stopped identifying with falsehoods. It felt like everything after that point that I had put out, or everything that I had started to build, was very much rooted in my own personal truth. And I think when everything felt right, that's when the rest of everything around me really started to align for me. The second principle is focusing on consistency and not perfection. One of the biggest misconceptions about branding is that you have to be perfectly polished all the time. Before you put something out, everything has to be perfect. And I hate that, because my thought process has always been true branding is never going to be about perfection. It is going to be about consistency and how you show up. It can look one way tomorrow and it can look another way 6 weeks from now. As long as you continue to show up and be consistent, that is all that matters. And if you know me and have been rocking with me and my content for a really, really long time, you know that I am not about perfection when it comes to my brand and my online presence. That is the least of my worries. I will start something, and if at any point I start to feel like it no longer serves me or it doesn't align with me, I will let it go. I am an ever evolving human being, and as I evolve, the things that I start are going to be things that I eventually stop because they no longer align with who I am. I have never been afraid to show up as imperfect when it comes to what I'm building and whatever it is that I'm putting out into the world, because this journey is very personal. This journey is about me, and I am not about proving anything to anybody else. There have been times when people are like, oh, you used to do this, now you do that. This looks different. I don't care. I don't care. This journey is personal. It is for me. I want you to think about those people whose work that you admire. Think about what draws you to them, what draws you to their work, what makes you want to consistently continue to experience them. It's not that they never make mistakes. It's that they just show up in a way that feels intentional and true to who they are. Their voice, their energy, their message, it just all feels aligned. And dare I say this, and please don't cancel me for saying this, but this is why up until recently, a lot of us continue to support and gravitate toward Ye, because we admire his work. There was something about his essence and his aura that drew us to him up until a certain point where he started to drive off the rails, and, you know, many of us couldn't support him anymore. But he's always been very intentional and true to who he is, even if who he is somebody that none of us identify with or align with anymore. But all that to say, your audience is never looking for a flawless version of you. They're looking for a version of you that feels real, a version of you that is reliable, a version of you that is relatable and resonates with them. Whether you're sharing your expertise, your thoughts, or your everyday life, the goal isn't to curate an image. The goal isn't to be who you think people want you to be. It's to create a presence that feels unmistakably yours. The third principle is practicing sharing from a place of truth. And it's just about being truthful online and everything that you do and everything that you produce. I think social media has created a habit. I think when people talk about the highlight reel, I think what they really want to say is it's detectable when someone is being fake. It's detectable when someone is not being their real selves. And some things are a transitional phase. You saw me here and now I've transitioned here. Some of these are natural periods of growth. But then I think that there has become this habit of like, this is how I want you to see me, so this is how I'm going to show up. And you cannot tell me that this is not me. But I'm going to force this version of myself on my audience and on the world because this is how I want to show up, because this is what I know is going to gain me likes. It's going to gain me a following. It doesn't necessarily reflect who I am, but it's a version of me that reflects what I want to attract or that what I'm hoping to attract. And that's not always the best way to go, because what's not rooted in honesty does not have a solid foundation, and what does not have a solid foundation eventually crumbles. There is a certain magnetism in honesty. People feel it when you speak and show up from a place of truth and share stories and experiences that genuinely reflect your real life and your personal perspective. And I say real life in all caps. The key isn't to be or become a fabricated version of yourself. I also want you to keep in mind that showing up online or just showing up in general and being the most authentic version of yourself doesn't mean oversharing. It just means being intentional with what you share. The next time you go to create something, the next time you go to pick up that camera or that phone, whatever it is, you open that laptop, ask yourself, am I sharing this because it adds value to the world? Or am I sharing this because I feel pressure to create? I feel pressure to be seen. I feel pressure to garner likes. The more you align your brand with what truly matters to you, the more natural it feels for you to show up. I say this a lot, and I will probably continue to say this until I'm blue in the face. Don't ever be afraid to evolve. Your authenticity, how you show up, your personal brand isn't this fixed point. It's something that evolves and continues to deepen as you grow. Let your brand reflect that evolution. Lastly, let's talk about finding your unique expression, because branding isn't just about what you say. It is about how you say it. It is the way you write, the visuals you choose, your tone of messaging. All of it contributes to how people experience you and your brand. Your style should feel like a complete extension of you, not something that you are forcing. Not something that you have to fabricate or pull out of a hat, not something that you've seen other people do and you've seen it work for them and now you want to replicate it. If you love minimalism, let that show up in your aesthetic, but let it be yours. If you have a signature way of speaking or doing certain things, let that flow into your content, but let it be yours. People remember brands that feel distinctive. And that distinctiveness comes from embracing what feels most natural to you. Ask yourself, what is it that makes people remember me? What are the little details that make my presence feel different from everyone else? Once you find the answer to those things, lean into them a little bit more. At the end of the day, creating an authentic personal brand isn't about becoming something. It's literally about unbecoming everything you thought that you had to be, so that you can step into who you already are. Your brand isn't just what you put online. It's the energy you bring into every space that you step into. It's how you make people feel. It is how you choose to express yourself. It is how you choose to show up day after day after day. So if you take anything from today's conversation, let it be this one thing. You already have everything that you need to create a brand that feels authentic to you. The real work is in refining, embracing, and owning. If you feel like you are ready to take the next step, start with asking yourself, what parts of me have I been neglecting, or holding back? And how can I start to not just embrace those things, but integrating them into my brand starting today? Every brand, like every life, tells a story. The question is, are you the author of your story, or are you letting the world write it for you? I want to thank you all so much for joining me in this space today, this space of refinement and rediscovery. I hope today poured into you. If this episode resonated with you, let's continue the conversation. Follow along for more insights into branding, intentionality, and self-expression. And let's continue to build something meaningful and authentic together. And of course, if you feel like you know someone that it will resonate with, please do share with them. Until next time, remember, the most powerful thing that you can create is a life and a brand that is truly your own.